Clarence's parents had a really good marriage. Shout out to Clarence. I'm going to read that super chat throughout the show. Clarence Thomas is under attack, one of our Supreme Court justices. And it's because they're saying that Clarence Thomas is giving his quote unquote daughter. Shout out to Janae. Appreciate this channel. Even though my opinions may be unpopular, this channel has been respectful. That's because all chat lives matters. We don't want to exist in a vacuum. We don't want to exist in an echo chamber. We don't all just want to agree just for the sake of agreeing. If you disagree with somebody, it doesn't mean that. Listen, this is freedom of speech over here on the Millionaire Morning Show, the People's Channel. All right, but Clarence Thomas is under attack based off of the idea that he's looking out for his people and giving, I guess, some form of an adopted daughter. I haven't seen this yet. And I like to use different sources, so we're not going to just go with Fox News. We're not just going to go with MSNBC. We're going to go with CNN and ABC and all of that. He's under attack based off of the idea that he's setting his form of a daughter or adopted daughter up for success in the future. Let me see what they're talking about.
4 years before he was appointed to the highest court in the land, Clarence Thomas said this: "There is nothing you can do to get past black skin."
Hey, is that a young Clarence Thomas right there? Oh, snaps. Oh, snaps. Look like he could have starred in a 70s movie, huh? Pootie Tang.
Care how educated you are, how good you are at what you do, you'll never have the same contacts or opportunities. You'll never be seen as equal to whites. Despite that perspective, Clarence Thomas has dedicated his time on the bench to undoing landmark civil rights achievements for black Americans. In 1995, he became the first Supreme Court justice to openly criticize Brown v. Board of Education, which, of course, outlawed segregation. In 2013, he voted to gut the Voting Rights Act. In 2023, he joined a decision to strike down race-based affirmative action. Thomas has also used his position to fill the judiciary with scores of his former clerks, most of whom are white, and all of whom, he says, share his views.
I'm not going to hire clerks who have profound disagreements with me. That's a waste of my time.
Talk to him.
And someone said that's like trying to train a pig. It's a waste your time and aggravates the pig.
I've never seen this before.
This week, we have some news that Thomas has decided to hire as his new clerk a woman who was publicly accused of sending racist text messages like the one that reads, "I hate black people," in capital letters. She is also someone Justice Thomas has described as nearly an adopted daughter. Joining me now is Mark Joseph Stern, senior writer covering the...
Wait. Again, I don't stand on accusations. That's number one. Number two, people evolve and they grow as they get older and they have different perspectives, or they're allowed to change their mind based off of their life experiences or whatever it is that they stand for. Look, I cannot sit here and hold somebody accountable for an opinion or a perspective that they had back in the 60s and the 70s. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you that some of the most conservative people that I've met in my lifetime as far as mentors used to be incredibly liberal. They was the ones that was out there protesting and Black Power, and they was wearing their beanies or whatever it is that they was doing. And, you know, they was out there looking like they was going to Woodstock and stuff. And then eventually they evolved and they said, you know what, but I'm a grown up now and I got kids and I got to take care of business and this don't make sense. And they're pushing their thoughts on us, and what we thought was feminism back then or what we thought was rights or justice actually was kind of stupid. And we was 19 and 20 and we was in college. But now that I'm 30 and 40 and 50, I think differently. So my question first becomes, are you supposed to have the same perspective that you had at 20 when you are now 50? That's number one. Number two, how can we hold somebody accountable for an accusation? Because what she said was an accusation, not necessarily something that was true. So anybody can accuse you of anything. And is that what we use in order to justify whether or not we want to throw you under the bus? Let me hear what else they got to say.
The courts and the law for Slate Magazine. Mark, it's great to see you. I don't know where to begin with the racist text messages or the nepotism. Let's start just because there's a lot to talk about in the nepotism category. How unusual is it to hire a Supreme Court law clerk who once lived with you?
It is extraordinarily unusual, essentially unheard of since the olden days when the justices lived at boarding houses in 1800s Washington. This is new territory, and I think it really shows just how enmeshed Clarence Thomas and Ginny Thomas are with their professional networks. Crystal Clanton came to the Thomases as an assistant to Ginny Thomas after she was pushed out of Turning Point USA for being too racist, and then grew into not only a confidant to Ginny, but also a friend and nearly adopted daughter to Clarence. Now he's elevating her to a clerkship, which positions her well for, first, a $500,000 bonus if she enters private practice, and about 10 years down the line, a judgeship under a future Republican president. So this
sounds like a well-played poker hand to me. Listen, man. We got to be realistic here. How many of us, I know that's not his real daughter either, how many of us actually leverage our network? Ain't that the whole reason why y'all joined some of the organizations that y'all joined? Is because of the networking opportunity? Isn't that the reason? Look, how many of y'all went on a job interview and the person that they asked for a reference for was actually a relative? How many of y'all actually have leverage your network in order to become more successful? Hey, can you give me a job? That's what I tapped into my OGs for. Hey, fam, can you give me a job? Can you give me with a reference? Give me a job. You put me in that position. Anybody that I put in position, I'm going to have to know you. The only time I'm going outside of my network is if I ain't got no other option but to do so. So the person that basically came to you as an assistant and you practically look at him as a daughter is the person that you put in a position to be able to succeed long term. Oh, okay, cool. I mean, listen, I don't know what the rules are as far as Supreme Court justices ultimately putting her in a position as a law clerk hire. If it's illegal or something, okay, then tell me that, because I'm not familiar with that law or I'm not familiar with those rules. But if you're asking me personally if I'm going to give preferred treatment to the people that's closest to me, yeah, I am. I'm going to pick my daughter over your daughter. I'm going to pick my daughter over your daughter, or I'm going to pick my nephew over your nephew. Listen, if my daughter and your daughter go into an interview with somebody or somebody's company that I know, and I know them and I can give her a leg up, you don't think that I'm going to make the phone call? I just want us to be realistic. I just want us to be realistic. You don't think that I'm going to put in the word and say, hey, make that happen? Or am I too off? Do I exhibit too much nepotism? I don't know. I want to hear what they got to say.
Stakes are very high, and in part because of that, justices usually go out of their way to hire based on merit to ensure that they are not just picking their friends and family. Obviously, Clarence Thomas does things differently. Clanton may be the most extreme example of that, but she's not the only example.
Well, and you're right. It's important to point out what these clerks then go on to do, because in the immediate, it doesn't seem like a good idea to have a law clerk at the Supreme Court who's texted, "I hate black people," just for what that does to the court.
First of all, it was an accusation. Let's not say that. It was anybody could say that somebody did something, but nobody has ever proven that it's been done. But let's continue.
Which is suffering from a major PR crisis at best. But on the second, people who write text messages saying, "I hate black people," shouldn't be in the pipeline that is clearly in existence as it concerns these law clerks. And Thomas really has seemed to have profoundly efficient. He's built a very efficient pipeline insofar as his clerks really have gone on in large number to become judges, to be an essential part of the American justice system. Can you talk a little bit more about his record on that?
Yeah, so Clarence Thomas's clerkships are unique in that they sort of function as an indoctrination boot camp. And as that clip you showed earlier indicates, he doesn't hide this.
An indoctrination boot camp.
Goes out of his way to select clerks who already agree with him. He actually has direct lines to conservative professors at law schools like Notre Dame who pick the most ideologically extreme and pure students and put them in the pipeline up to a future clerkship. Once they're there with Clarence Thomas, he instills in them this extreme far-right conservative philosophy, sends them on their way. Many of them do take these payouts in private practice. The bonus for a Supreme Court clerk right now is about $500,000 for your first year, but then they find their way back into public service, quite frequently in the form of a judgeship. Donald Trump and his advisors went back time and again to Clarence Thomas's former clerks to pick judges, and they have consistently proved to be some of the most extreme on the bench. Judges like James Ho in the Fifth Circuit, who wrote a decision arguing that the courts should abolish access to the abortion pill in all 50 states. Judges like Allison Jones Rushing, who just today upheld.
So they're basically saying that they take an extreme left people and then they're making them extreme right and conservatism, and then ultimately these people, because they connected, go on to get big positions based off of their network. Okay.
An extreme racial gerrymander in the state of North Carolina. These judges have a mission that Clarence Thomas helps them to refine, and once they are out in the world, they work very hard and very consistently to achieve those goals and circle back around every year for a meeting with Clarence Thomas and his clerk family, where they all congratulate each other on all that they've done to further the cause.
Markets.
This is a non-story to me, honestly. It genuinely is a non-story. It's not a thing.